Serena Hayes lay still in the hospital bed while machines did what her body could not. A ventilator breathed with mechanical patience. A heart monitor stitched time together with soft, unforgiving beeps. Clear tubes traced their way into her arms like quiet vines. To anyone watching, she was gone already. To anyone listening closely, she was a body being kept alive. But Serena was there. She was not drifting. She was not dreaming. She was awake in a way that felt cruelly precise. Her thoughts were sharp, intact, unmuted. She could count every second. She could feel the weight of the blanket on her legs, the dryness in her throat, the ache in her jaw from being slacked too long. What she could not do, what no one realized, was move. She tried at first, tried to open her eyes, tried to lift a finger, tried to scream. Nothing answered her. Her body had sealed itself off like a locked door, leaving her mind pounding on the inside. They called it a deep coma. Doctors spoke just outside her door in careful professional voices. They talked about scans and prognosis and odds, about brain activity that didn't show what they wanted it to show. They said words like unlikely and prepare and transition. Serena heard every syllable. The first day passed in procedures and routines. Nurses came and went, adjusting lines, checking numbers, chatting about dinner plans and weekend shifts. They spoke over her, around her, never to her. She was a task, a responsibility, a body to be managed. Then the visitor started. On the second morning, the door opened and Serena recognized the voice before she fully registered the words. Robert Mitchell, her CFO, 15 years at her side. A man whose career she had built as deliberately as her skyline developments. The board is nervous, he said quietly, as though the room itself might gossip. If she doesn't wake within 30 days, we need to talk succession. Another voice her attorney answered calmly. Her shares alone complicate things. $2 billion, conservatively. Without a directive, this gets ugly. A pause. Then a soft laugh. She never planned for failure, Robert said. Classic Serena. They stood there, at the edge of her bed, discussing her life like a spreadsheet with a missing column. Serena felt something hot and sharp cut through her chest. If she could have risen, she would have fired them both without blinking. Instead, she lay there listening while men she had trusted rehearsed her absence. They were not the last. Friends came in waves. People she had dined with, vacationed with, funded. They spoke in hushed voices, all sympathy and performance. One called it tragic while wondering aloud about Serena's penthouse. Another mentioned the Hamptons house. Someone asked about the art collection. A phone camera clicked. Proof of presence. Content for later. They stayed minutes. None of them spoke to her. By the end of the second day, Serena understood something she had avoided for decades. She had mistaken distance for strength. After the betrayal, after the man she loved vanished with her money and her trust, she had built herself into something untouchable. No dependencies. No soft places. She replaced intimacy with achievement, affection with influence. She told herself she didn't need anyone. Now, immobilized and fully aware, she saw the cost. Every relationship in her life had been transactional. Every bond conditional. She had everything and no one. By the third night, exhaustion crept into her thoughts. Perhaps it would be easier to let go, to stop fighting against a body that would not answer. To fade quietly and leave the vultures to their feast. Then the door opened again. The footsteps were different. Slower. Uneven. Rubber soles squeaking faintly against the linoleum. Good evening, ma'am. The voice was deep, gentle, unfamiliar. It carried warmth instead of calculation. I don't know if you remember me, the man continued, but I was there the night of the accident. Serena's focus snapped sharp. My name's Marcus Johnson. I work here maintenance, mostly. I saw the crash on my way home. You were still conscious when I got to you. A memory flickered. Twisted metal, the smell of fuel, sirens in the distance. And a hand. Someone holding her hand. You grabbed on real tight, Marcus said. I kept talking to you until the ambulance came. Told you everything was going to be okay. He pulled a chair closer. Serena heard him sit. They say you can't hear me. Deep coma, no awareness. A small pause. I don't believe that. Her heart thudded. When my wife was dying, he went on, they said the same thing. Said there was no point talking, but I talked anyway. Every day. And I believe she heard me. Something shifted inside Serena, subtle, fragile, real. So I'm going to talk to you too, Miss Hayes. Maybe you hear me, maybe you don't. But I promised you that night you'd be okay. And I try not to break promises. For the first time since the crash, someone spoke to her as if she were still a person. Marcus came back the next evening, and the next. He told her about his work, about scrubbing floors no one noticed, about being looked through instead of at, about security guards asking for his badge after 6 years on the job. He didn't complain, he explained. "Every room I clean," he said once. "That's one less thing a patient has to worry about. Maybe that helps them heal. Maybe that's enough." Serena listened, humbled by the simplicity of it. He told her about walking home with his daughter and feeling eyes on them, about being seen as something dangerous instead of something tired and loving. "Lily asked me why people stare," he said. "I told her some folks look but don't see yet." He told her about his wife, Angela, a nurse, the way she smiled when he spilled a mop bucket his first week, what she said then, how they met, how they loved, how cancer took without caring. "I sat with her every day at the end," Marcus said quietly. "Even when they said she couldn't hear. I think she knew she wasn't alone." Serena felt it then, grief she had never allowed herself to earn. When Marcus brought Lily, the room changed. The child's voice was bright and fearless. She held Serena's hand without hesitation. She gave her a drawing, flowers, sunlight, 3 figures. "You don't have to be scared," Lily said. "You're not alone." Those words landed deeper than anything Serena had ever been told in a boardroom. When Marcus later told Serena they were moving her to a long-term facility, something in her broke open. When he came to say goodbye, believing it was the last time, she could not bear it. As he turned toward the door, Serena forced everything she had into her hand. "Move! Nothing! Move!" Her finger trembled. The monitor reacted. Voices rose. Light flooded in as her eyes finally opened. "I heard you," she rasped. Marcus froze. "Everything," she whispered. "Thank you." 2 weeks later, Serena sat in a wheelchair beneath an autumn sky. Recovery was slow. She welcomed it. She had time now. She dismantled what needed dismantling. Fired who deserved firing. Redirected her wealth towards something human. She listened more. Spoke less. Marcus refused her money. Accepted a scholarship fund for Lily instead. When Lily ran toward her with a new drawing, 3 figures holding hands, Serena smiled. A real smile. One she hadn't practiced. She had learned too late and just in time that strength was never about standing alone. Sometimes what saves us is simply being seen.